Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Let's Build video. In this video, we're going to be building this full stack job listing website with Next.js 14, React Hook Forms, Prisma, Railway, EdgeStore, and Tailwind. Let's take a look at some of the features. Inside of our hero section, we have this search form where we can search for a specific job. We can search by job title. We can search by job location. And we can also search by company name. When we find the job that we're interested in, we can click on it and it takes us to that specific job page using Next.js dynamic routing. On this page, you can see the job description and other job details. Back on the home page, right underneath our job listings, we got our sponsor section, we got our about section, we got a contact section with a nice contact form, and we also got our footer. If you noticed, in the Navbar, we got this post a job button. If we click on it, it takes us to the job posting page where a user can post a job. We use React Hook Forms to manage our form state and validation. If we try to submit an empty form, we get a bunch of errors. So let's actually fill this form out. Do software engineer for a job title. Do Raleigh, NC for our location. Do Apple for our company name. And for our salary, we'll do 70,000. And for our image, I'm gonna upload the Apple icon, and we'll be using EdgeStore to manage all of our images. Employment type, and do full time, and just do test for our description. Click on submit. And if we head back to the home page, our job should be listed there now. So let's actually get started on this project. All right, so I got a fresh project open here. So let's go ahead and create our next app. So inside the terminal, we're gonna type in npx create next app at latest. And I'm going to do a dot after mine because I want mine created in the folder that I'm currently in. And we will be using TypeScript. ESLint, no. Tailwind, yes. Source directory, no. App router, yes. Import alias, this is optional. You don't have to use it if you don't want, but I'm going to use it. Alright, so once it's finished, I say we go ahead and clean up all of our files and start with our folder structures. And then we can start with our Navbar. So inside of the app, we're gonna get rid of favicon. Inside the global CSS, let me close out of this. We're gonna get rid of all of this here. All right. And inside of layout, we're gonna come back to this. We're gonna install a font. Let's head over to our page, and we're gonna select all, delete, and we can do RAFE. Change this to home. I'm gonna change this to home as well. All right. Public. We can get rid of these two SVGs, and I believe that's it. Yeah, so that's good. Let's head over to our layout. is inside of the description. There's a GitHub gist, and I want to just download all of our images, and we're going to put them inside this public folder. But before we do that, actually, let's create another folder on our inside of our root, and it's going to be called constants. All right, and in here we're going to make a file. It's going to be called index.ts, and this is basically just going to be our nav links, because we're going to use our nav links in our mobile menu, our navbar, our desktop menu, and also our footer. So this is just an easy way, so that way we can map through it. So it's just going to be this is going to be inside of the description as well, or you guys can pause the video and just copy this over. It's not too much. Just nav links. We got our name, we got our route. All right, so that's that. And now I just say we go ahead and download our images, and once we download our images, we can start our navbar. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so hopefully you guys downloaded the images. I'm not sure if I told you guys, but it's going to be a Google Drive inside of the description with all of the images, or you can just head over to the GitHub repository and just download each one. I find that easier. So we got our Airbnb logo, we got capital one, we got our little contact section image there, Discord, Dropbox, we got our hero background, our signature, and we also got a Slack logo. So these are all the images that we'll be using on this website. So let's close out of this, and now inside of our app, actually outside of our app, inside of our root, we're going to create a components folder, and we're going to create two folders inside of this components folder. We're going to create one, it's going to be called shared, and then another folder, it's going to be called UI. All right, so our UI is going to hold our buttons and our inputs, and our share is going to hold our nav bars and footers and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and create our navbar component. So inside of shared, we're going to do navbar.tsx. All right, and let's go ahead and export it, because we're going to import this inside of our layout. So head back over to our layout, and right over top of our children, and do navbar. All right, and we should see it. Nice. All right, so before we actually start our navbar, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open up a new terminal in here, so that way we don't close out our server. Click on the plus, and I want to install a package. I'm gonna install React icons. So I'm gonna do a npm I react dash icons. All right, perfect. Let me just make sure that installed. Head over to my package block JSON, and where is it? Oh, there it goes. React icons. Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and start our navbar. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make this a client component. Do use client, and we're going to import a few things. We're going to import link from Next. Make some space here, and we're going to import our nav links from our constants folder. We're going to import some React icons. I'm going to copy these over. So these two are FI menu, so that's basically our hamburger menu, and MD close, which is going to be like the X icon that we're going to use to close out our mobile menu. And then we're going to also import one more. It's going to be called MD adds click, and this is for our logo, a little logo icon that we make. And we're also going to import button from our UI, but we didn't create this yet. So actually, inside of our UI, let's create a button.tsx, and let's export it. And what we can do, let's just go ahead and just return a button. Let's go return a button, and it's just going to have our children in here. Children, spell children wrong. And then we gotta send it over our props. So we're gonna do children here. we're going to come back and style this up and fix all the TypeScript errors. But for now, let's just keep it like this. And that way we can import it in here and we can use that. All right, so let's go ahead and set some state now. We're going to do a const open mobile menu, and then a set open mobile menu, and that's going to equal use state false. I don't think we imported use state, did we? No, it automatically did. All right, and let's create our mobile menu handler function. So we're just going to do a const handle mobile, actually handle open mobile menu. Tried to be very descriptive. And that's going to equal an arrow function. It's going to return just set open mobile menu, and it's going to toggle our open mobile menu. Really simple. We do this every single time we do a project. All right, and let's go ahead and write some JSX and start styling this thing up. So we're going to have a nav, and this is going to have a class name of py5, a bg of transparent, position relative, a top of 0, a z of 10, and a width of full. All right, and here we're gonna have another div, and let me close out of this thing on my other monitor. All right, and this is going to have a class name of max width 1450 pixels, and then a width of 90%. MX of auto, flex, justify between, and item center. Okay, make some space here, and maybe I can actually bring this out just a little bit because we're going to be clicking back and forth like this. So, all right, perfect. All right, so now this is where our logo is going to go. So we're going to have a link. All right, and we're using Next.js link tag, so we got to do an href, and that's just going to lead us back home. And inside this link, we're gonna have a div with a class name of flex, item center, and a gap of 1. And then inside of this div, we're gonna have h1 with a class name of text black, a font of semi-bold. Oh, my bad. Semi-bold, uppercase, and a text XL. And this is just going to say Workify. Workify. Let's take a look. Perfect. Nice. All right, so after this H1, this is where we're going to have our MD ads React icons. MD ads click, self-closing tag, and we can give this a class name of text purple 600. That's going to be like our color for our website. And then also we're going to make this a little bit bigger. We're going to do a text 3XL. Take a look. Hold on. Wait, did I save it? Maybe refresh. There it goes. Had to refresh. All right, perfect. And just a heads up, I'm very sick, guys. So if I sound like really stuffy, that's why. I don't know if we got COVID, but the whole household is sick. We're all sick. My children, they stay home from school, and it's like a war zone in here, man. It's crazy. All right, so after this, after our link tag, we have a UL, and we have a class name of flex, a gap of 16, item center, and on max MD, we're gonna have hidden. All right, and now we can just map through our nav links. We have nav links, nav map, link. I'm taking a link, and we're gonna return a link from Next.js. And the href for this is going to be our link dot route. We gotta also give this a key, which can just be index. And we're gonna get error because inside of our link we gotta do a comma. We also gotta take in an index as well. Index. All right, and inside of our link, we're gonna have an li, and this is going to be link.name. Perfect. All right, nice. All right, so now we need our button, our post a job button on that side. So right after this UL, we're gonna have a div with the class name of max md. It's going to be flex, justify center, item center, and then a gap of 10. All right. And inside of this div, this is where we're going to render our post a job button and also our open and close icons as well, our mobile menu icons. So we're going to have our link. This is going to be, we're going to do our button first. I don't know why computer's lagging behind. There we go. All right, link. And it's going to have an href. And the href for this one is going to be /create. So we didn't create this route yet. All right. And we have our button. And it's going to take in our children. So we can just do post a job. Like that. Let's take a look at that. It's not styled up, so it's going to look normal. We're going to style it up here in a second. So after our link, we have a div. And make sure we're still inside of this div here where our button's at. So we have another div in here. And this div is going to have a class name of md hidden. A text of 3xl, cursor pointer, and a text black. Balance text black. All right. And in here, we actually going to add a on click on this div as well. On click, and it's going to be a handle open mobile menu. It's our little function that we made at the top. In here, we're just going to render our so if it's open mobile menu, it's going to show our md close icon. Else, it's going to show our fi menu icon. All right. We shouldn't see it here, but if we go to inspect and we change the screen size, now we see it. But once we click it, it goes to close, open, close, open. Perfect. All right. So after this div, now we're going to render our open mobile menu links. So underneath this div, so still inside of the div where our button is at, we're going to render this out conditionally. So we're going to do open mobile menu, do double and. So if it's open mobile menu, we're going to return a UL, and this UL is going to have a long class name, a class name of md hidden, a BG of purple 600, not pink, purple 600, position absolute, a top of 14, a right of 5, a px of 4, py of 6, text center, a text white, a rounded md, flex, and we also gonna do have to scroll over some, it's a pretty long class name, flex. I'm gonna do a flex call, a gap of 3, and then a shadow md. All right, let's take a quick look at this. So once we click it, we should see it. As you can see, we see it there. So inside of this UL, this is where we're going to render map through our nav links again. So we're going to do, we actually could just copy over this here. Let's copy this over here. And we're going to paste it down here. All right. And there we go. Nice. So once we close it, perfect. So the only thing we're missing is we're actually going to add an on click on this link, because once we click these links inside of our mobile menu, we want them to close. We don't want this mobile menu to stay open. So go back to the menu, inspect. All right, perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a on click on this link. Do on click, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna just return our set open mobile menu to false. Right, and with that, once we click, it closes. Nice. All right, so I believe that is our navbar. That is it, guys, for our navbar. Relative with a full, a BG of cover, and let's just save that for now. Perfect. All right, so as you can see, it is acting very weird. It's supposed to be on top of our navbar. So let's see what we did wrong here. Should BG transparent. Oh, let's see. Right screen position relative. Maybe let's add a margin top of negative 70 pixels. I think that's what I forgot. Perfect. Now it's on top of our navbar. I mean, underneath our navbar. All right. So inside of this div, we're gonna have another div with a class name of flex call, height of full, item center, justify center, a padding top of 82 pixels, a gap of 20, a width of 90%, MX of auto, and also a max width of 1450 pixels. All right. And inside of this div, we have another div, not that word, but another div with the class name of text 6XL, a font of extra bold, and a text block. I don't know why I keep. All right, and first we're gonna have our h1. Actually, we messed up. So change this div. We're gonna change this to our h1, and then we're just gonna have another div wrapping this h1. Another div wrapping it like that, and this div is going to have a class name of text center, flex col, and a gap of 3. All right. So this h1 is going to say len the, add some space like that. Let's take a look at that. So len the, all right. Then you have a span in here with a class name of text purple 600 and a font of extra bold, and this is going to say dream job. All right, take a look. Land the dream job. I don't know why. Oh, we forgot to add the space like that. You gotta add a space in between there. Perfect. So after this span, I'm gonna do a comma, space, you deserve. Nice. All right, and then after this h1, we're gonna have another span, and this is going to have a class name of font thin, and this is just going to say 100,000 jobs listed. Here, your dream job is waiting. All right, look, nice. All right, so after this div, so we got our closing span, closing div. And then right after that closing div, we're gonna have our search form. Search form. Oh. All right, and like I said, it's just going to say search form for now, but this is where it's gonna go. So we got it in the spot where we want it. All right, nice. So now let's go ahead and install Prisma, get our database connected, and all of that fun stuff. All right, so now it's time to set up our database with Prisma and Railway. So head over to prisma.io, and we're gonna click on get started, and we're gonna do quick start. Scroll down. We don't need to install TypeScript. We already have that. But we are gonna use this command here, install Prisma -- save -dev. So let me copy that, head back over to my project, and I'm going to paste that in here. All right, so once that's finished, let's head back over to prisma.io, and we're going to copy this. We won't be using SQLite, but we can just change that once the schema gets created. So we're just going to paste that in here as well, and it should create us a Prisma folder instead of our root with a schema.prisma. And like I said, it's going to say SQLite, but we're going to change this to Postgres SQL. All right, let's go ahead and close out of our terminal for now. Get rid of some of this stuff. All right, so I say we go ahead and do our schema since we're here. It's gonna be a really short schema. Probably one of the shortest that. No, I think the shortest one was our to-do app that we made. So we're gonna do a model, and it's gonna be job posting. A model job posting, and we got to take in the ID, which is going to be a string. And every time we take in the ID, we're gonna make sure that ID at default, I'm gonna do UUID like that. Give that a save. And we're also going to take in a name, which is going to be a string. Description, which is going to be a string as well. Our salary, which is going to be a number, but you can't just put number here. You got to put float. And we also got it, whenever you use float, you got to give it a default. So by default, it's going to be 0. Location, it's going to be a string. Save that. Our author, it's going to be a string, so that's going to be our company name. Image, it's going to be a string. put a question mark after that one, and then employment type. That's going to be a string as well. I'm gonna put a question mark after that one. Give that a save. And we also can do a create it at, and that's going to be a date time. And we also gotta give this a default as well, which is going to be now. Give that a save. So that right there is our schema. So we got our data. It should have made us a perfect. So it made us a .env file as well whenever we use Prisma in it. So here's where our database URL has to go. And to get that URL, we're gonna head over to Railway, create an account. Don't worry about the free trial. It's just more than enough. So right now you are on should be on a trial once you sign in with your GitHub. But like I said, it's more than enough. Click on new project. I'm gonna do Postgres SQL, and it should take a second to create. And click on the database, and as you can see, we have no data, we have no deployment, so it says active. Go over to settings. I believe you go here. Hold on. Maybe it's variables actually. And we're going to copy our database URL. I'm going to copy that and paste it in here. I laughed a little because every time I do make one of these videos, somebody always uses my database URL, and I go look at my database and it's just filled with just random stuff. Like, use your own, guys. Use your own, please. Maybe I just might delete this one after this video. Alright, so that should be it. So now what we can do is we got our database URL. Let's go back to our schema. What we can do now is we're going to open up our terminal. We're going to run a command. We're going to run npx prisma migrate. If I can spell migrate dev. Alright. So what this is going to do is we should see our schema basically inside of our database now. So let's give this a second. And as you can see, it says railway.net, so everything is getting connected. For the migration name, you can put anything for this. I'm just gonna do test. All right, perfect. So once it's complete, we can head back over to our database. Hold on, let's close out of this and open it back up. Data, hold on. Okay, so we're unable to connect the database over a public network. Can you connect using this command? Let's refresh and see what happens. Here we go. Perfect. It scared me for a second. I'm like, hold on. I didn't have to do that before. I used this multiple times. Alright, so now we should see our schema that we made. We got job posting, and we got our ID, we got our name, description, salary, location, author, image, employment type, and created at. Perfect. Alright, so we're going to create another folder inside of our root. It's going to be called lib. We're going to create a file. So we're going to call it prisma.ts. And here I'm just going to paste this in. This is the normal thing to do. I do this in all of my projects, so you guys can go to the GitHub repository and just copy this over right quick. And it's just so that way we don't get that error saying that we call in Prisma too many times. So that's that. And now I say we go ahead and set up EdgeStore, which is going to be a way to handle all of our file uploads. Whenever a user uploads an image to the job posting form, it just goes to here. So head over to edgestore.dev and create an account. Should be already signed in. There we go. All right, as you can see, I got 172 files inside the job board site that's already completed. That was a lot of testing going on. It was a lot of frustration. So once you're here, you want to click on create a new project. But before we do that, actually, let's head over to the docs because we got to set everything up, install EdgeStore and everything. So let's start from the beginning. Let's copy this code, head over to our terminal and install EdgeStore. Paste that in there. And while that's loading, let's head over to number 2 And here we got to do our environment variables inside of our .env. We'll do that in a second, but let's just copy this over, get over to our .env, and we're just gonna paste this in there like that, and then we'll just switch all this stuff out. Okay, and now we need to make a API route. So close out of that. Inside of our app, so it's saying inside of our app, we got to create a API folder, then create another folder, EdgeStore, then create another folder, EdgeStore with the spread operator and brackets, and then do a route.ts. So inside of our app, we're going to do API, and then inside of our API, we're going to have another folder, EdgeStore, and then inside this folder, another folder, and do brackets, EdgeStore, close brackets, and then inside of that folder, that's when we're gonna have our routes file and do a route.ts. All right, and we can just copy this over and paste it in there. All right, we can close out of that, close out our API folder, keep the .env open. We're about to use that here in a second. And now it's saying create our context provider. So that's going to be inside of our lib folder as well. So inside of lib, we're going to create EdgeStore.ts. We're going to do EdgeStore.ts. And we're going to paste this in there. And now it's saying we have to wrap our whole application up with EdgeStore provider. Let me just save that and close out of that. Head over to our app layout. So right over top of our children. I think I might put it over our Navbar as well. Do EdgeStore provider. That's coming from our lib folder. All right, perfect. Make sure we don't get any errors. Just refresh. Let's go to localhost 3000. All right, perfect. I believe that is it. You can use EdgeStore hook. All right, we'll do all of that ourselves. All right, perfect. So now let's head back to our dashboard and create a new project. Project limit reach. Are you kidding me? That's hilarious, man. All right. So what we need to do is create a new project. And since I already got one, I'm just going to probably, if I can find it, where do I find my, okay, project keys. You go to project keys and we're going to copy this over. I'm already going to have 172 files on here. Well, I mean, it's not connected with our database because what we're going to do is we're just using this to store our files, but we're going to fetch our images from our railway database using Prisma. So I got 172 files in here, so that won't mean I'm going to have, fetching 172 images. It's going to be the images Whenever I do projects with TypeScript, it's optional. You guys don't have to do it with TypeScript if you don't want to, but I highly recommend it. So we're doing an interface for our button props. So we're taking in type, which can be button, submit, or reset, or undefined. Our children, which is a React node, on click, and that's optional. Outline and full width. So these are just stylings. Depending on if the boolean, if outline is true, then the styling is going to have that outline, and then full width, if it's true, then it's going to be a full width button. So actually I don't even think we need outline anymore. I think that was something that I ended up not using, so we can just remove that for now. All right, so for our props, I'm taking a type, comma, on click, and also full width. Okay, perfect. And let's go ahead and add our props, our types to this. We're gonna do react.fc, and it's gonna be button props, like that. All right, so that should get rid of those errors. All right, and what we're gonna do a cons pending. That's going to equal use form status. Okay. All right, and it's going to return a button, and we're going to do a type. It's going to be our type. Disabled, it's going to be pending. Pending. So whenever our form is submitted, we want that button to be disabled. On click is going to be on click. And then our class name for this, we're actually get rid of the quotes. I'm going to do brackets CLSX, and we're going to do parentheses and make some space here. So I'm going to do backticks. So the first style that we're going to do BG purple 600, a PX of 4, a PY of 1, a rounded, MD, a text white, a height of full. I'm gonna add a transition, and a duration of 300. I'm gonna add a hover effect. Do hover of BG purple 600/75. All right, as you can see, we got it right there when we hover, showing that nice little hover effect. And let's go ahead and just add our children in here. Children. All right, perfect. Nice. Let's see. And now what we want to do is, so after this, we're gonna add a comma, and we're gonna do if it's full width. So if full width is true, we just want the styling. We want to add the styling of width full, because we're gonna need a full width button. I believe we use it inside of our contact section and also our post a job form. Perfect. So that is our button component, our reusable button component. So now let's do our input inside of our UI. Create another file. Create input.tsx. Okay, that is save. I'm trying to think. Maybe I should add an input. So let's go ahead over to our shared search form, and let's go ahead and add this input here. Let's do fragments, just so that way we can see some of the styling that we're doing. Input UI, like that. All right, so we got it right there. This is a pretty large file, this one. There's a lot of functionality in this input. All right. So we're going to use client, and we're going to import CLSX. All right, make some space here, and we're going to import some stuff from React Hook Forms. Import field errors with an S, and also we're going to import use form register return. Those are both coming from React Hook Form. And then we also going to import change event, and that's coming from React. All right, and then we're going to do our interface, our input props that we're going to be taking in, and paste that there. So we're going to take in our label, which is a string, ID string, type, which is a string, register, which is coming from React Hook Form. Also errors, which is coming from React Hook Form as well. Disable, which is a Boolean. No label, which is a Boolean. So that's basically, we're going to add this no label whenever we don't want a label, because we don't want a label inside of our search form, but we do want a label inside of our post a job form. So that's why we add in this Boolean there. And is text area. So this right here is, we're going to change the way this input looks. We're going to change it to a text area if this Boolean is true, because we use a text area inside of our post a job and also inside of our contact form at the bottom of this page. Placeholder, which is a string, no border, which is a Boolean, on change, and then also our value, which is a string. So those are all the props that we're going to be taking in here. So it's pretty long. So now we actually got to receive these props. So inside of these parentheses, we're going to do brackets, and we're just going to paste all of that in here. We got our label, ID, no border. Okay, that's why we're getting the error. I was wondering why we didn't put it up here. Our type, we're going to do React FC, and it's going to be input props like that. All right, perfect. So again, label, ID, type, register, errors, disabled, is text area, no label, placeholder, value, on change, and no border. So those are all the props we're going to be taking in this. Pretty long. All right, so now let's go ahead and style this up a bit. So we're going to do a const, actually, I want that inside of that return. It's going to be over top of this. So we're going to do a const input element. Input, hold on, sorry. Input element. And that's going to equal to is text area. All right. So if it is text area, we want to return our a text area. So text area, like that, and you can make this a self-closing tag. So save some space here, like that. All right. So our text area is going to take an ID, which is going to be ID. It's going to take an autocomplete, which is going to be our ID. Rows is going to be 6. Disabled is going to equal to disabled. Placeholder is going to equal to placeholder. So these are all the props that we're just getting in. We're just making it equal to our props that we're getting in. And then register, this is coming from React Hook Form. And now we need our class name. So our class name is really long. So we're gonna do class name, brackets, CLSX. All right. And make sure you do parentheses, backticks. So first one's going to be block. I'm gonna make some space here and do width full. I'm gonna do round it, MD, a border 0. A PY of 1.5, a PX of 1, a text gray 900, a shadow MD, and do a ring 1, a ring inset, a ring gray 300, a placeholder of text. Gotta scroll over here. It's really long class name. Sheesh. Oh my god. A placeholder of text gray 400, a focus ring. Actually, focus. Sorry. Focus. And this is going to be a ring 2. And then also focus. Do a outline of purple 600. And then on small screens, we want the text to be small enough. We want the text to be small. And then on small and up screens, we're gonna do a leading of 6. And then a margin bottom of 5. Okay. Woo! I'm tired. Alright, so we're not returning nothing, that's why. We're getting an error here. Alright, so that is our text area. But as you can see, we use CLSX. So we're going to actually do a comma after this. And now we want some styling to be shown whenever there's an error from React hook forms. We're gonna do errors. We're gonna do and errors ID. And then and we want the styling to be ring rows 700. All right. And we also do another comma. So when it's disabled, we want the opacity to be 50. And also cursor default, so you can't click on it. All right, so now we need our else. So this is if text area is true. Now we need else. Actually, hold on. I believe it is down here. Okay, this is weird. So there. Okay, there we go. It was weird for a second. So our else, we're going to return a input. And the good thing is we don't gotta copy. We don't gotta write all this over because it's gonna be damn near the same styling. So I'm just going to paste this up and we'll just switch everything out. And then we're going to paste that in there. So yeah, take over text area. I can get rid of that. Take out of rows. So we'll just be using autocomplete, and then we got type, which is going to be type. Autocomplete, which is ID. Disabled, which is disabled. We're going to do name, which is going to be our ID. And then we also going to do value, which is going to be our value. Okay. We got name, value, disabled, placeholder, register, and we also need on change. On change. And that's going to equal on change. On, oh my god. There we go. Okay, perfect. And this has the same styling, I believe. If not, we can always just come back and fix it. But only difference is, so after this disabled, we're going to do a no border. So if it's no border, do and we want the ring to be 0, shadow none, and also a margin bottom of 5. Okay. All right, so we got our input element. So this is basically you just using a ternary operator. If it's text area, it's going to show a text area. If it's not, it's just going to show an input. Really simple. And then in our return statement, we have a div All right. And here we're going to render our label out conditionally. So if it's no label, all right, we're going to do and we're going to return label. And we're going to do HTML4, and it's going to be for our ID. And this is going to have a class name of block, text small, font medium. We're going to create a file, and it's going to be called job types.ts. All right, and we're just going to do a export interface job types because we're going to do ID string, we're going to do a name string, image string, everything string, author string, salary string, location, description, and employment type. All right, cool. So inside of our app, we're going to create another folder, and we're going to do parentheses create. All right, and then inside of here, we're going to have a folder. It's going to be called create. And inside of this folder, we're going to create a file. It's called page.tsx. So if you remember, we added a link to that post a job button there to take us to /create. So once we click this, it should take us to /create. Perfect. And we're showing page there. All right. And we're going to create two more folders in here. So inside of parentheses create, we're going to create another folder, and it's going to be called actions. And then we're going to create another folder, components. All right. And inside of components, we're going to create a file, and it's going to be called create form. So create form.tsx. Let's go ahead and export it. All right, perfect. And now let's head back over to our create page, and I start styling this up a bit. So we're going to go ahead and import create form. Or create form. And We're going to return a div with a class name, max width 1450 pixels, a width of 90%, a MX of auto. All right, and inside of this div, I have another div. It's gonna be class name with full MT5 and a text center. And we have a H1, and it's gonna have a class name of MD text 6XL, text 4XL, a font of extra bold, uppercase, and a margin bottom of 1. And it's going to say post a. We're going to do a little space trick here. Space trick there. And then we're going to have a span. It's going to have a class name of text center. And actually text purple, sorry. 600. Text purple 600. And this is just going to say job. Let's take a look at that. Perfect. Post a job. All right, and underneath the span, actually underneath this H1, we have another span, and this is gonna have a class name of with full, text center, and this is just going to say currently 100,000 users are actively looking for a job. Perfect. All right. And so we got a span, we got a div, and then underneath that div, this is where our create form is going to go. Nice. All right, so before we actually work on our create form, we're going to head over to actions. We're going to create a file in here. It's going to be called create job actions .tsx. All right, and we're going to be using server actions. So we're going to do use server. And we're going to import revalidate path. We're going to import Prisma. For some reason, I always got to type this out. So Prisma, and this is going to be coming from our @/lib/Prisma. And then we also going to import field values. I don't think we need field values actually. All right, and we need to set our type. So we're going to export type form data, and our type is going to be name string, description string, location, author, salary, image, and employment type, all string. All right, and we're going to export async function create. I'm going to do create job, and it's going to take in our data, which is going to be our form data. All right, and we're going to do an await Prisma dot job posting dot create. All right, and we got to give it the data. So the data is going to be our name, which is going to be our data.name. Let me just copy all of this over here, paste it in here. It'll be faster than me typing it all. All right, so we got our data, I don't know why we're getting an error here, object literal. So yeah, I think I see the issue. So as you can see, it says the salary is uppercase. It got to be lowercase. So now we actually have to do a, let me clear this out. We got to do an npx prisma migrate dev, and that should get rid of that error once we complete all of this. It's going to ask us to do a name again. Yeah, my new migration, just gonna do test, and then just give this a second, and hopefully that error clears, and it does. Nice. All right, close out of the terminal. Last thing we got to do is revalidate the path. Revalidate path, and I'm going to do /create. That. Give that a save, and that is our server action we'll be using. Let's close out of that, and now we can start our create form. All right, so let's go ahead and add use client, and we're going to import a bunch of stuff. First, we're going to import use form. We're going to import create job, comma, type, space, form data, like that. And then we're going to add another comma. Actually, we don't need a comma. We're going to do from, and that's going to be coming from @/app/create/actions/create jobs. All right, so we got a type and our form data. All right, and let's go to import button from our UI. Also import input from our UI as well. Make some space here. We're gonna import use state and use effect. And use effect. And we're gonna import use EdgeStore. And I believe that is it. Well, we're not finished, but this is all of the imports. So now let's go ahead and set some state here. So first thing we're gonna do, so if you check the docs of EdgeStore, let's go to docs and head over to maybe Next or EdgeStore maybe. Configuration, oh, image, here we go. So it shows you how to do everything. I use this drop zone on my full stack blog website, but we're not going to use that in this project. So we're going to go and set some state. We're going to do a const file and then a set file, and it's going to equal use state. It's just going to be empty like that, but we're going to do set a type here. We're going to do file like that. All right, and then we're going to do a const EdgeStore, and that's going to equal use EdgeStore like that. And right underneath this file, we forgot one. We got to do a const image path and then a set image path, and by default that's just going to be use state and empty quotes like that. So we're going to save our image path from EdgeStore inside of this state here, send this image path to our Prisma, then fetch that and for our job component. So now we need to do some things with React hook form. Hopefully this part is not confusing. So I don't think I showed you guys React hook form site. So they actually got some really good docs. This is my first time actually using React hook form, and I ran into some issues at first, and I was actually gonna not use them, but I ended up fixing it. So let's go to docs. Where are we at? Get started maybe. But yeah, they got some really good docs here. It just shows you how to do everything. Register fields, this is what we'll be using. This we'll be applying validation, and we'll be handling errors as well. And they got a bunch of stuff for TypeScript as well. We'll be using some of this stuff. So yeah, just head over to the docs. So all of this stuff that I'm about to do now is inside of the docs. So we can do a const. We're just basically grabbing everything from use form. So we're gonna use register, const register. I'm gonna do set value, handle submit, comma. We're gonna do form state, and in here it's going to be errors, comma, is submitting, comma, is dirty, and then dirty fields. All right, dirty fields. All right, and then we're gonna do a comma, and then we also going to take reset as well. Probably should have put that up there. All right, reset, and this is going to equal use form, and now we got to set our default values. And do default values, and in here is we got our name, which is going to be an empty string. Just going to copy all of this, paste it in there. So we got our author, empty string, description, location, image, and employment type. All right, and now as you can see, we got our type form data here. We're actually going to set our type on this use form. We're going to do form data like that. Perfect. Nice. All right, and now we need to make our upload image handler for EdgeStore. So we're going to do a const upload image handler, and that's going to be async. All right, we're going to do if file. We're going to do a const res, and that's going to equal await EdgeStore dot public files dot upload. All right, and in here we're going to upload our file like that. All right, but we also want to set value of image to our res. So once you click a dot here, you should get access to some stuff. So res.path, .path order, .size, .upload, .url. So that's what we want. So we're setting our value of image to res.url. So now that I think about it, I don't even think we need image path. So this is the issue that I was having at first. So whenever I was saving the URL to image path, it just wasn't working inside a database. What it would do is whenever you upload the form, it would send the data before it saves the URL inside of this state. So the workaround for that was I found this set value from React Hook Forms, and what we're going to do is set the value of this input name. So we're going to name the input image, and we're going to set it to res.url. And with this, it worked. So I ended up doing it like this. So I honestly think we don't even need this image path anymore, but let's just keep it small screens and up, grid col 2, and then a gap of 5. All right. So now we gotta do our first input. So input, self-closing tag, and we're gonna send it over to our prop. So we got our ID. It's going to be for this first one's going to be for name. Our label is going to be job title. Our errors is going to equal errors. That's coming from React hook form up here. Our form state, so it's coming from that. And disabled is coming from is submitting. So that's coming from React hook form as well. And now we got to do our register. For register, we're going to do double brackets, register. And we got to give it a name. So the name's going to be name. And then we're going to do comma. And we can add a bunch of stuff here, but we're just going to add required. Required. And we want it to be true. Like that. All right. Take a look at this. Nice. We got our first input and it looks great. Nice shadow. Once you click, you got our site color ring. It looks nice. Perfect. Or outline. All right. So now I'm going to copy this input and I'm going to paste it again. And we should see another one right next to it. So this next one, the ID is going to be location. Label is going to be location. Error is going to be errors. Disable is submitting. Register, the name is going to be location. And we also want to make this required as well. Okay, perfect. So underneath this div here, I'm going to have another div with a class name of grid. Small screens and up, grid col 2, and then a gap of 5. Same thing as the top one. And we can go ahead and paste another input and another input. So paste 2 more. Okay. So let's go ahead and change up this first one. This one's going to be author. And the label for this one is going to be company name. Errors, disabled is submitting. Register is going to be author. And we're also going to make that required. Okay, so this next one is going to be a little bit tricky. Because I don't know if you guys saw the demo, but for salary, we want it to show an error if it's not a number. So let's go ahead and change the ID to salary. Label is going to just be salary. Errors, disabled is submitting. And register, this is where it gets a little tricky. So we're going to change this to salary. And we also going to do required true. But after true, add a comma. Add some space here. We're going to add validate. And what we're going to do is we're going to take in a value. And we're going to return const parsed value. That's going to equal parsed. Parse float. And it's going to be value like that. Okay. Return. So we want to return is NaN, not a number, parse value. Okay, I see what I did wrong here, guys. I'm actually gonna remove this validate and we're just gonna rewrite it. So we're gonna do validate and we're gonna take in our value and we're going to return brackets. I put parentheses last time. Do const parsed value, and that's going to equal parse float, and it's going to take in our value, but we got to do a dot replace, place. And we're going to do slash, comma, slash, G. And then we're going to do comma, space, empty quotes like that. All right. So as you can see, we're still getting an error. That's because we want this return statement to be inside of this. So I'm going to empty that and then put it right there. And another closing one there. And we forgot to close a bracket here. Actually, I think we got too many parentheses. There we go. Whew. Told you that one was a little bit tricky. All right. So again, we're just basically checking to see if our value is a number. If it's not, we're gonna return this error. It must be a number. All right, perfect. So that is our salary one. And now underneath this div here, we're gonna have another div with the same class name, grid, small screens and up, grid col 2, grid col 2, and then a gap of 5. All right. And this next input is going to be a little bit different as well. So we could just actually type this one out. This is going to be our file. So I have an input and a label for this one is going to say select company image, like that. And then the type for this one is going to be file. And this is going to have an on change. Taking an event. And we want it to return set file to our e.target.files, and we want it to be the index of 0. All right, and we can add a question mark right there. Okay, we are getting an error there. ID is missing. Oh, let's add an ID to it. So ID of file, like that. All right, so we got our file there. Nice. Perfect. And now we need our employment type. So underneath this input, actually underneath this div, actually underneath the input, sorry, have another div, no class name, I have a label. Label is going to be for employment type, like that. And we're gonna have a class name on here. Class name of block, text small. Actually the same exact class names as our label there. Text small, we're gonna do a font medium, a leading 6. That's why I was frozen for a second. I'm like, hold on, are these the same class name? A text gray of 900 and a margin bottom of 2. Okay, that's our label. And then in here it's going to say employment type. All right, let's take a look. Just show right there. Nice. And now we need our select. So our select name, we don't need a name. We do need an ID, which is going to be employment type. And are we going to need a register? Let's make some space here. So register. And now we set our name, which is going to be employment type. And we also want this to be required as well. Required, which is true. Okay, and this is gonna have the same class names as our input, so we can actually head over to our components, UI, input, scroll up and copy this class name here. Copy all of this. Copy. And then inside of our create form, a class name, and we're gonna paste all that in there like that. Okay, There we go. But as you can see, our height is not lining up with that. And let's do a padding of 3. Give that. All right, perfect. So now it lines up with that one. All right, nice. So that's our select. Now we need to add our options for our select. Scroll back over this monitor. Sorry. It's unorganized today, huh? Like I said, I'm sick. I think we got COVID, guys. I think my whole family got COVID. We've been sick for the last 3 days. So I'm struggling here. I have an option. And the value for this one. Value is going to be part-time. Part-time. That. And it's going to say part-time. Part-time. Actually, I'm going to keep this like that. Part-time. Alright, and we can copy this 2 more times. 1, 2. And just change up the stuff. So this one's going to be full-time. And the next one's going to be temporary. We're going to just probably just do temp like that. Alright, let's take a look. Temp, full-time. Perfect. Alright, and now we need our text area. So we got our select, closing select, we got a closing div, and another closing div. So right underneath this closing div here is where we're going to have our input. And actually, what we can do is copy one of these inputs up here. So I'm going to copy this one here, this author. And down here, I'm going to paste it there. And we're just going to add a boolean to it, is text area. And it's going to be true. And as you can see, now we got our text area. That is the power of reusable components. Alright. And we just got to change up the stuff. There's going to be description. Label is going to be description. Error is going to be errors. Disable is submitting. Register is going to be description. And we're also going to make it required. Nice. Alright. So now we want a hidden input for our server actions. So right underneath this div here, we're gonna have an input like that. It's a regular old input. It's gonna be hidden anyway. I'm gonna type hidden, and we're gonna have an ID. It's going to be image, but we're gonna have it register. Register, and it's going to register img. So that's the name of this input. So whatever you put for this register, that's going to be the name of this input. So you guys remember, we set the value up here of this image to our res.url. So that means that this hidden input is going to hold that value, and that's what we want. So what I'm going to do is actually highlight this, and I'm going to just comment this out because I actually want you guys to see this. All right, so the hidden input is down here, is right there. All right, so let's add our submit button. It's going to just be button. That is going to say submit, and let's go ahead and add our type, which is going to be submit. All right. We got our button there. That input is going to be gone, so we can just keep it like this for now. So we can actually test this out now. I'm really hoping this works. Actually, we didn't add our errors in there. So once we submit this, it's gonna submit as, oh, it's showing. Okay, I forgot we did add errors, but we want it to show underneath here. You know, job title must be filled out, location is required, company name is required, salary. So you want that to show here, show there. So let's hit under our input component, and we gotta add some stuff underneath this input element here. So we're gonna do brackets, errors, and errors ID. All right. Then we do and parentheses and we want it to return a span. Your class name of text red 600, and then a text small like that. And in here, this is where we're going to render our errors. We're going to do errors ID. And once you click that, you should get access to message. And then we're going to do n parentheses, do a fragment. This way we're going to render out our errors. Are done with our input component. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. We can get rid of our schema. So let's test this out. For the job title, I'm just going to do software engineer, location Raleigh, NC, company name is going to be Apple Incorporated. Salary, I'm just going to put a string for now, just SDFDS. And then for the image, I've got this little Apple logo. So as you can see, once we add an image there, our hidden input stores that image URL. So that's what that's for. So let me actually get rid of that now. Add type hidden. Just wanted to show you guys what it does. So now we store in that URL inside of that hidden input. Employment type's going to be part-time, and description, I'm just going to do test. So with that, we should get an error for salary. So yep, it must be a number. I'm just going to do 120,000. Okay, and submit. As you can see, we get the inputs, they go disabled. And now here is the moment of truth. Check our database, and perfect, it is there. We got our ID, we got a name, we got our description, we got our location, author, image, which is one thing that I'm happy about, because this is the one thing that was really messing with me whenever I was creating this. Part-time, created that, and also the salary. Perfect. All right, so there's a few changes that I want to make to this. So as you can see, we got our button right next to our description, and we need that gap. I mean, we need that margin bottom. So what I'm thinking is we can either add the margin bottom to our button and just add a boolean onto it. So what we can do is probably do this. We can do margin top and then do boolean, and we can make this optional like that, and then bring in the prop for it, margin top like that. All right, and now down here we can add a comma, margin top, and then we can do a margin top of 5. Okay, and that's going to add that prop to our button inside of our create form, which we can do margin top, and let's see if that works. Perfect. And let's try to submit, and we still got the margin. Nice. All right, so that's one fix I wanted to do. So you're probably wondering why we don't have our image required and our part time required. So we're gonna add a fallback image if they don't upload an image, because, you know, I don't know if you guys filed any job applications lately, but I have. I mean, I'd applied for like probably like 300 jobs right now by now. And sometimes, you know, you see jobs that don't have an image, but they have, you know, the site's default image. So we're gonna add one of those if they don't upload an image. And then employment type, we're not making that required either, because by default it's part-time, so we are getting a value from this either way if they don't choose. But there is one thing that I wanted to do. So for not that one, down here for our select, that's it, I want to add a disabled, and that's going to equal is submitting. All right, so we want to disable that. And what we can do is actually, let's copy all of this here. I'm gonna get rid of it, and up here, actually we can just do it down here where we just at. I'm gonna do brackets CLSX, and I'm gonna import it, and I'm gonna paste those class names back in there. I think I did it wrong. Hold on. I think it gotta be backticks. Paste those class names back in there. Then I'm gonna do a comma, and now I'm gonna head back over to my input, and I want to render this out disabled. Go back to create form, and I forgot it's not going to do it because it's not a boolean. Table is, or we could just probably just do is submitting, right? Yeah, there we go. So if it is submitting, the opacity be that. So that's for that one. And for this one, we could just do, where's this one at? This one's here. We could just do disabled is submitting, because this is going to be disabled either way because we're using the input component, so we don't got to add all that extra stuff like we just did this one. All right, perfect. So that is our form. Let's just test this out one more time. I want to create another job, and it's going to be with Apple. We're going to come back and add more jobs later. I'm going to do a full stack. Actually, I'm just going to do something easy. UI/UX designer. Location is going to be Albany, New York. Company name is going to be Apple. INC. Salary is going to be 70,000. And And for the image, we're gonna do Apple, and we're gonna do full time this time, and description, just put test. So let's see if everything gets disabled, and it does. Nice. And we should see it inside of our database. Perfect. Nice. So now it's actually time to start working on seeing these jobs on the home page. So we're going to work on our search form first, but before we do that, we got to install a package. We're going to install Zustand because we need to manage some state. npm I Zustand. We're going to install that and close out all of this stuff for now. Close out, and we're going to create a folder on our desktop. Folder in our root that's going to be called store. All right, and inside of this store, we're going to create a file. It's going to be called use job store.tsx. All right, so I'm just going to paste this in there. It's not that much. We just got to import create from Zustand. We're going to import job types from our types folder. And then we just got to define some state. We got filter jobs. It's going to be job type. It's going to be an array. And then set filter jobs. It's just going to take in jobs and then just return void. And then down here is our actual store. So we got use job store create. Then we add in our job store state there, our types. And then we got set. So first, by default, our filter job is going to be an empty array. And then we're just going to set filter jobs. It's going to take in a job, and then we're just going to set filter jobs to jobs. Really simple. It's just basically like use state. You know, you got your filter jobs, you got your set filter jobs, and it's just setting filter jobs to jobs. Okay. All right. So that is our store. So before we start rendering our search form, we're going to head over to our next config because there's some stuff we have to do in here. Remove its strict mode. So React strict mode, I'm going to do false because I ran into a bunch of issues with this. And do images. And we do remote patterns. It's going to be in here. We're going to do protocol. HTTPS. Comma, and we need our host name, and all of our images are going to be coming from files.edgestore.dev. Okay, edgestore.dev. Okay, perfect. So that's that. Now it's time to work on our actual search form. All right, so the moment you all been waiting for, it is time to start our search form. So inside of, we already created a component. Nice. So let's get rid of, actually let's keep that input, import. And we're going to make this a use client. We're going to import a few more things. We'll import button from our UI. And we're going to import change event. And use state. All right, so change event, use state. That's both coming from React. We're going to import our use job store and import. We can add use effect to this. Use effect. And last but not least, our job type from our types folder. All right. So let's do our interface. So interface, search, form, props. That's going to equal jobs, job type. All right. It's going to be an array. And then we need to set some initial state. Initial state. And that's going to be title. It's going to be empty. Location, it's going to be empty. So I was about to type empty. And author is going to be empty. All right, that's our initial state. And we're going to accept some props in here. We didn't fetch our data yet, but we will. Jobs, and it's going to be search form props. Okay. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and set our values. Set our state. I'm gonna do cons state, set state, and that's going to equal use state. And it's going to be our initial state that we set at the top there. And then we're going to do a cons value, set value, and that's going to equal use state. Default is going to be empty quotes. All right, and we do cons set filter jobs, and that is coming from our use job store, like that. All right, so now we're going to do a use effect, and I'm actually going to paste this in because it's pretty long, but in the description there will be a GitHub gist, or you can head over to the GitHub repository and just copy this over. I'm going to explain it, so I'm going to go ahead and paste it. So once I explain it, it'll be really simple. So basically what we're doing is how to use effect. We're creating this function called filter and set jobs, and in here we're just basically checking. So the first one is this one, the title condition, and we're basically just checking to see if the job title matches the search title, or if the search title is empty. I believe so if the search title is empty, this second half wouldn't fire. And same with the location condition. So it's basically the same thing, just called. So this is title condition, we got location condition, we got company condition, and then at the end we're just returning all three. And then at the bottom here we're just setting filter jobs to set filter jobs to filter jobs, and this is coming from our use job store using Zustand. And down here we're just calling our function that we just made. And then for our dependency array, we're just looking out for any changes within jobs, our state, and our set filter job. So if any of those changes, that's when this use effect will fire. Okay, so now I think it's time to create our on change. We're gonna do a function on change, and this is taking an event. This is a change event, which is a HTML input element. All right. So in here, basically, whenever input field value changes, this function is going to be called. So in here, what we're going to do, we're going to do a set state. Set state. 2, or actually grid count 12, sorry. 12, and then a gap of 3. Right? Inside this div, we have another div with the class name of callSpan12. And on large screens and up, it's going to be a callSpan3. Okay. Alright, and now we're about to have our first input. I have input. I might just copy this over. Gonna be kind of the same thing as our inputs in our post a job form. So we sending over the prop, so it's our input component, and we got ID, we got our type text, no label this time because we don't want any label. Let me refresh. And placeholder job title, and we're adding an on change. Right, and right underneath this div here, we have another div with a class name of callSpan12, and also large screens and up is going to be callSpan3. Right, and we're going to have another input here, but this one's going to be cannot read filter. Okay, that's we're not sending over the props to here yet, so let's I say we go ahead and do that now. So we had to send over our props. So what we're gonna do is, I say we send it through our hero section, and then so we're gonna fetch, trying to think, so we'll fetch it from our home page of jobs, and then we send it over to our hero, and then our hero send it over to our search form. All we gotta do, we're gonna change this to a async, and we gotta import Prisma. Prisma, and like I said, for some reason I always gotta type this out. It never picks it up. lib/Prisma, and all we gotta do is do a const jobs. That's going to equal await Prisma dot job posting, and we just gotta do find many like that, and we just gotta do a little empty object like that. And now what we can do is just send over our jobs to our hero section like that. And inside of our hero section, we take in these props, jobs, that. And then we send over our jobs to our search form. Jobs. Perfect. Alright, so we shouldn't get that error no more. Nice. Alright, let's go ahead and finish what we was doing. So this next one's going to be, next input is going to be location. Placeholder is going to be location. Type text, no label, on change. Perfect. Alright. And now we're going to do another div. So I'm going to copy this div here. Just paste it down there. Have another input there like that. And this next was going to be author. Type's going to be text. Placeholder is going to be company. On change, on change. Nice. Now we need our button. So right underneath this div here, we can actually just copy over this div and just remove this input. And have our button here, button component, and it's going to say search jobs. All right, and we're going to do a type submit, and we're also going to do full width. All right, perfect. Now we have our search form. So now we need to render out our jobs at the bottom of this, so let's go ahead and do that now. Alright, so before we start our jobs and our job cards, we're gonna head over to hero. I just want to fix this error right quick. So here, we're gonna do an interface. We're gonna do hero props. and we're going to do jobs. It's going to be our job type. It's coming from our types folder. It's going to be an array. So here we just got to do hero props, and that should get rid of that error. So inside of shared, we're going to create two components. We're going to create one. It's going to be called jobs.tsx, and then jobs cards.tsx. That one, and we're going to export this one. All right, perfect. So now inside of our home page, we're going to render out jobs underneath our hero. Jobs. I'm going to save that, and now we should see jobs down there. It's hiding down there. All right, so let's start styling this page up first. We're going to make this a use client, and we're going to import use state from React. We're also going to import our use job store, so that way we can have access to our filtered jobs. Then we're going to import jobs card, and we also going to import our button component from our UI folder. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our filter jobs from our Zustand store and do a cons filter jobs, and that's going to equal use job store that. And let's go ahead and set some state and do a cons visible jobs and set visible jobs, and that's going to be use state, and the default value, you could change this. I'm going to do 8. So what we're doing is basically we're going to have a show more button at the bottom of our job component, and whenever you click it, it's going to render out more jobs, because we don't want all the jobs to be posted. It'll just be a long page. So we're going to have some showed. Well, we only gonna have 8 jobs showing at a time. Then when you click a button, it's gonna show 4 more. All right, and we can actually play around with this number if you want as well. So we're gonna do a cons jobs increment, and we're just gonna equal that to 4. So like I said, you can render out 8 more jobs if you want. You can render out 2 more if you want, but I'm gonna do 4. All right. And then we're going to make a handle show more function. We're going to add this as an on click to our button. We'll do handle show more. And what we're going to do, we're going to set our visible jobs. We're going to take in, let me make some space here, our previous visible job. I'm just going to do prev. And let me make this look a little bit better here. Sorry. Make this look a little bit better. All right, so we're taking our previous jobs, and we're just going to return our prev plus our job increment. That's simple. All right. All right, so that's our handle show more, and now let's go ahead and start styling this up a bit. So we have a div with an ID of jobs and a class name of py10 and a width of full. All right, and then in here we have another div with a class name of width full, text center, margin bottom 10, text 2XL, font extra bold, uppercase, and then text purple 600. Alright, and it's going to be our section title. We're just going to have an H2 in here. It's going to say job listing. Take a look at this. Alright, perfect. Or job listing, sorry. Alright, so now we're going to render out, we want an error message. So if we have no jobs, So whenever we search and no jobs is shown down here, we want to message. What we're going to do is right underneath this div, we have some of our filtered jobs dot length is less than 1. We're just going to return a div with a class name with full text center, and then inside this div we have an h1 with the class name of text2xl, and this is going to say no jobs found, right? And then we have a span with a class name of text small, check back later. All right. Okay, then else, we gotta do our else. That's why we get an error. So else, we're gonna return a div with a class name of grid, grid cow2. This grid cow2 is gonna be on medium screens and up. So I'm gonna do an MD, and on large screens and up, we're gonna do a grid cow4. We're gonna do a gap of 10, a width of 90%, MX auto, and a max width of 1400 pixels. 1400 pixels. All right. And then in here, we're gonna filter through our jobs now, but we're gonna first we gotta slice it. So we're gonna do filter jobs dot slice, and we're starting at 0, and we're gonna end at visible jobs. So it's that 8. So it's only gonna show 8. And we're gonna do a dot map. Dot map. We're gonna map through that. We got our job. And we're gonna return our jobs card, our job card. That. Alright. So we can give this a key, which is going to be our job.id. And then also we're going to send over our job, which is just going to be job. Okay. Let that load up and let's see if we see anything. We should see 2 jobs because we made 2 posts. And once we write anything, just write some gibberish, now we get no jobs found. Nice. And so I remember we did Apple, so if I type Apple here, it should show 2. And then if I do Raleigh and C, we got 1 there. Because remember we did 1 with the location Raleigh. Alright, nice. So let's go ahead and do our filter, our show more button. So right underneath this, that div there, I'm gonna have another bracket, so I'm gonna do filter jobs length. So if it's greater than our visible job, so if we have more than 8, we're gonna return a div with a class name of text center, margin top 10, and text small. And it's gonna be our button. And it's going to say show more. Alright. And we gotta add our on click, which is going to be our handle show more. So we shouldn't see this because our filter jobs is not greater than our visible jobs, so we don't have more than 8 yet. But we will soon. Let's just go ahead and start styling up our card. Alright, so inside of our jobs card, we're gonna make this a use client. We're gonna import link from Next. And we're gonna import job type. Alright. So we gotta take in our props that we're getting from our jobs card. So we're gonna take in job. And that's going to equal our jobs card props. All right, we didn't make that interface yet, so we're gonna do interface, jobs, card props, and we do job is going to be our job type. All right, perfect. And let's go ahead and start styling this up. So I'm gonna do a link, and we didn't do our dynamic routes yet, but we're just gonna go ahead and just do a href, and we're gonna do and do job.author and then logo, like that. There's our logo, our Apple logos. All right, so right underneath this image tag, we're gonna have a h2 with, in here is going to be our job.author, so our company name. And this is just going to have a class name of text small. Perfect. All right, underneath this div here, we have a h2, and in here is going to be our job.salary. All right, so we don't want it to be like that. We're gonna do k/year, like that. So 100K a year, 70K a year. Can't wait till I start making that type of money. That's what I've been going hard for. We're gonna do a div, we're gonna do a class name of margin top 3, a text XL. In here we have a h3, and we have a job. We have our job.name, and then underneath this h3, we have a p tag. And it's going to be our job.location. All right. And then underneath this p tag, we have a span, and it's going to be our job.employment type. Take a look. Perfect. Let's style up the span a bit. Do a class name of BG Purple 600. Inline block, even though I don't think we need inline block. I believe span is already inline block, right? Yeah. I'm gonna do a text excess and do a px of 3 a rounded MD, and then a text of white. All right, take a look at that. Perfect. Nice. Nice. All right, so that is it for our jobs card. So what I say we do now is we take the time out and we add more jobs. So head over to post a job and you just add jobs. So in the description there will be a folder, or I might just add it whenever we actually because I didn't add it inside of our public folder. So whenever you downloaded this folder, you should probably gonna see the job icons, like this Apple icon. We have Microsoft. We're gonna have, you know, Facebook, to Twitter and stuff like that. So I'm gonna add those icons in that folder. So yeah, just go ahead and create some jobs, post a job, and just create different ones, different cities, different job titles, different salaries, and meet me back here. All right, so I added 9 jobs just so I can show how this show more button works. So once you click it, it renders out that last job. So yeah, just try to follow this. If you guys want to add your own jobs, you can. I just did, you know, from Amazon, Google, Facebook, Microsoft. I just think this looks so much better. And yeah, everything looks good. So now once we click on this, we're gonna get a 404 because we didn't set up our dynamic routes yet. So let's go ahead and do that now. So inside of let me close out all this stuff. Inside of our app, we're going to create a folder, and it's going to be called job. And inside this folder, we're going to create another folder. We're going to do brackets ID, like that. And then inside of this folder, this is where we're going to have our page .tsx. All right, let's go ahead and export it. All right, and it's going to import our button from our components, and we're also going to import. We didn't create that yet, so we're going to make a utils. I'm going to do that here in a second. Actually, let's do it now. So we're going to create a folder on our root. It's going to be called utils. So in here, do utils. In here, we're going to create a file. It's going to be called format date. Format date.ts. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and paste this format date utils in here. You guys can head to the GitHub repository and just paste this in here. I got this off of Stack Overflow. And basically, this is going to format our date to show when our job posting was created. So like if it was created 3 days ago, it's going to show 3 days ago. If it was created, you know, a week ago, it's going to show, you know, how many days ago it was created. So 7 days ago if it's a week. So that's what we want here. So let's get rid of this. And I'm also going to have a GitHub gist with that as well. And let me open this back up. And now it's going to import that here. All right, so let's do our interface. And we can just do interface. Dynamic props. And do params. And we're just taking in our ID, which is going to be a string. All right. And before we even write anything outside of our page, we're going to do a const get data. That's going to be async function. And we're going to take in our ID, which is a string. And then we're going to return const res equals await fetch. And we're going to fetch, we're going to do backticks. HTTP / localhost 3000 / API /post $$ID. So we didn't create this route yet. We didn't create this API route yet, but we will in a second. All right, so after this, we're gonna do a comma, and then we're gonna do a cache, no store. All right. So now we're gonna do if our res is not okay, we're just gonna throw an error. So we're gonna do throw new error, and it's gonna say failed. All right. So now we just need to return our res.json. We'll do return res.json, like that. Perfect. All right, so I say we go ahead and create this API route. All right, so inside of this folder, so inside of our API folder, we're gonna create another folder, and then we're gonna name this, we're gonna do brackets job, like that. Make sure you close the brackets. Then inside this job folder, I'm gonna create another folder, we're gonna do brackets ID. And then inside this ID folder, we're gonna have a route.ts. All right. We gotta import Prisma, and then we also gotta import Next response. Perfect. Let's go and do our interface, params. I'm gonna do ID string. All right. So let's go ahead and do our get. We're gonna do an export cons get. That's gonna be async. Take in a request, which is going to be our next response. Hold on. I think it's supposed to be, this is supposed to be next request, sorry. Next request. All right. And then we also going to take in our params. And we got to do our types. So we're going to do params is params, like that. All right. Let's go ahead and return. So what we're going to do is go ahead and grab our ID from our params. So we're going to do cons ID, and that's going to equal params. Okay. And now we're going to do a try catch. All right. I'm actually just going to probably copy this try catch and just go over it. Okay, so I guess we do need next response as well. Next response. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're doing a try catch. So we're doing const post equals await Prisma.job posting, and we're doing find unique, and we're just finding, we're telling it where to find it. So it's going to be by ID, and we're just returning our next response JSON.stringify, and giving it a status 200, and we're just catching the error. We can console log error, and that's really about it. So that is our route. I think this looks good. Let's go ahead and close out of that. And let's go ahead and finish up styling up this page. Actually grab our param. So we're gonna do make this an async. In here we're gonna do params. And it's going to be our dynamic props. And then we can grab that ID from our params, kind of like how we did in our route. So we're gonna do ID, that's going to equal params. And then we're going to do a cons job equals await get data, and we're going to send it over that ID from our params. Then we also going to do a cons formatted formatted posted date, and that's going to equal format posted date, and we want it to format our job dot created at. Oh, that's why. Format it. Got confused there for a second. All right. So now we can start styling this up. Let's go ahead and click on one. We'll click on this one. Hopefully it takes us. Okay, so we're getting an error. All right, so I think I see the error. We did localhost 300. So let me go and save that. And now hopefully this works. Perfect. We got our page. All right, so we can start styling this up now. Do fragments. And we're gonna do a div with a class name of bg-url parentheses quotes / hero dot png end quote in parentheses in bracket. All right, so we shouldn't see this because we don't have a height yet. I'm gonna do a height fit, position relative, width full, bg cover, margin top is going to be -70 pixels, and then a py of 28. All right, perfect. All right, in here we're gonna have another div with a class name of flex col, a height of full, item center, justify center, a padding top of 82 pixels, a gap of 20, a width of 90%, index of auto, a max width of 1450 pixels. Alright, perfect. And then inside this div, we're gonna have an h1. Inside this h1, we're gonna have our job dot name. Just take a look and make sure it's working. Perfect. So we got software engineer, and let's click on UI UX designer. Now we got UI UX designer. Perfect. All right, so let's give this h1 a class name of text purple 600, font bold, and then a text 4XL. Nice. All right, so underneath this div here, have another div with a class name of width 90%, index of auto. Oh my god. border top, and then a border slate 100. All right. Take a look. A nice little border right there. Looks nice. All right, and we have a UL. Inside this UL, we're gonna have an LI, and then inside of this this LI, we'll have a div with the P tag. It's gonna say employment type. All right, like that. All right, and then underneath this P, we're gonna have a span with a class name of font medium. And in here, so we're gonna have our job.employment. Job.employment type. I don't know why I'm not getting the autocomplete. Okay. All right, so we can actually copy over this LI here. Copy this LI. And we're gonna paste it 1, 2, 3, 4 more times. But for the class name for each one after the first one, it's gonna have a class name of margin top 4. All right, take a look. All right, so now let's switch up everything in here. So the next one's going to be company. I'm actually going to copy this class name, and so we're going to do job.author, and then make sure we add the class name to this LI here. The next one is going to be location, and I'm going to do job.location, and the next one is going to be salary. Job.salary. All right, and the last one is going to be our created date. All right, so we're gonna do post it, and it's going to, we're just going to add formatted posted date in here. All right, and let's take a look at this. Nice, so we got today because it was posted today, and for our salary, we got to do job.salary k/year. Pick that. Nice. All right. So now we need our little description on this side. So I gotta count the divs. So we got a div, li, ul, and we got 4 1, 2, 3, 4 closing divs down. So right here, I have another div, class name of LG. I'm gonna do a call span 8. Medium screens and up. I'm gonna do a call span 6. All right. In here, we're gonna have an H5 with a class name of text LG, and then a font of semi-bold, and we have job description. All right, and then we have a P tag with a class name of margin top 4, and then a text slate 400. And in here is going to be our job.description. All right, perfect. Let's take a look. All right, it just says test. For the newer ones that I've added, I put some lorem text, so I'm just gonna do this one here. We just got some lorem there. All right, and the cool thing is this little sidebar we did position sticky. So if we want, we can actually, just so we can see it work, just add job description a few times like that, just so we can see this works. And then as we scroll, as you can see, that sidebar stays there. So that's like, it's really cool, sexy, man. All right. So after the p tag, we're gonna have another div, and we have a button, and it's going to say apply now. And this button's not going to do anything, but we'll have a class name of margin top 4. All right, perfect. All right, so that is it. I think we got our functionality. I don't think we tested out our, we got software, so we type in the S, type in the O, we get the software engineer. If I type in UI, UX, or UI/UX, as you can see, we got all the UI, UX, so that's working. I type in Raleigh, North Carolina, we got all the ones from Raleigh. I type in Google, we got all the ones from Google. And we got Apple, we got Microsoft. Perfect, so that's working fine. All right, so now it's time. The functionality for our site is done. So if you guys want to just quit here, not quit, but if you guys want to just stop here, you can. I know most of the people watch for the functionality, not really the styling. But we are going to finish up this home page. We're going to do our about section. We got a sponsor section, and we also have a contact section and our footer. So let's go ahead and do those things now. All right, so inside of our components, inside of our shared, we're going to create another component, and this was going to be called sponsors.tsx. Let's go ahead and export it, and let's head over to our app page, and we're going to import it in here. We're going to come back and fix that error. Sponsors, like that. Okay, we should see it down here now. Perfect. All right, so we're just gonna import image from Next, and let's start styling this up. I have a section with a class name of py10, and we have a div with a class name of max width 1450 pixels, a width of 90%, and then an MX of auto. All right, I have another div with a class name of with full text center. In here we have our h2 with a class name of text 3xl. I'm gonna do more, then do our little space trick like that, and then it's still inside the h2. We're gonna have a span with a class name of text purple 600. What did we do wrong here? Span with a class name of text purple 600, and then a font mode. And here it's going to say 10,000 companies, like that. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, more than 10,000 companies, and we're gonna do a little space trick again, like that, and I'm gonna do trust us, like that. Perfect. All right, and now underneath this div, we're gonna have another div with a class name of flex, justify between, item center, margin top of 5, flex wrap, and then a gap of 10. And we're just gonna just show all of our little images. I have an image, our sponsor images. So we're going to do a source, and it's going to be slash air. This one's going to be Airbnb.png. And then we're going to do alt Airbnb logo. And then the width is going to be 144. Height is going to be 144. Let's take a look. Perfect. And now we just copy this a few times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 more times. Paste it. And we just go ahead and switch up everything. So this next one is going to be Discord.png. And then we can just change this to Discord. Next one's going to be Slack.png. Change this to Slack. Logo. This one's going to be capital 1. Capital 1. And this is going to be capital 1. I think I spelled capital wrong, by the way. Capital 1 logo. Let's see. Oh, I spelled it right. Alright. And Dropbox. Dropbox. And then Dropbox. Dropbox logo. That is save. And that section is complete. So now let's go ahead and do our about section. So inside of shared, I'm going to create another folder. Another file. It's going to be called about.tsx. And this section is going to be really quick. Not that much in this one. It's going to export it. And it's going to import it inside of our page. About. Okay. Now we should see it down there. Alright, so we are going to import an image from Next for our signature. And we'll return a div with a class name of py16, a bg of grade 50/50, a margin top of 10, and we also want to give this an ID of about. Alright, and then inside this div, we have another div with a class name of width 90%, mx of auto, and then our max width of 1450 pixels. Alright. And we have our h2 with a class name of width full, text center, margin bottom 10, text 2XL, a font of extra bold, uppercase, and then a text purple 600. Text 600. Okay, let's take a look at this. Oh, we didn't write anything in our H2. It's just going to say about us, like that. Alright. Nice, and it's got that little nice gray background. Oh, nice little divider. Alright. And inside this, after this H2, we have another div with a class name of margin top 5, with full, flex call, justify center, and then item center. Then we have a p tag with a class name of leading loose. My first time ever using that one. And then the text center. Alright. And we just did some lorem here. So I'm gonna copy this over and paste it here. Some lorem. Take a look. And now we need our signature right underneath here. So we have an image. And the source is going to be signature.png. And we gotta give it a width of 400. And then a height of 400. And then the alt can be Workify signature. Oh, I forgot the slash. Take a look. Nice. Perfect. Alright, so let's go ahead and do our contact section now. Alright, so for inside of our shared, we're going to create another component. It's going to be called contact. So on the left side, we have a div, and this is going to have a class name. I'm going to do a large screens and up. It's going to do a call span 6. And on medium screens and up, we're going to do a call span. Oh, nah, we'll just do medium screens and up, call span 6. All right, and we have our image. But I'm not going to use the Next.js image because I was having issues with it. So we should do a regular image tag. And we're going to do a class name of height auto. And then a max width full. Alright. And then the source is going to be our contact.png. And then the alt is going to be contact image. Alright, let's take a look. Nice. Next is going to be our form. So after this div here, I have another div. Have a class name LG. I'm gonna do MD call span 6. I'm gonna do a BG of gray 50. BG gray 50/50. Alright, in here we have another div. In this div, we have another div with a class name of rounded MD, a shadow, pattern of 6, and a width of full. So this div, we have an H3 that says get in touch. Alright, save that and take a look. Alright. We're gonna do This h3 is going to have a class name, margin bottom 6, a text 2xl, and a leading normal. Okay, right, after this h3, this is where our form is going to go. And our form is going to have a class name of flex call, and a gap of 5. Okay. And now it's time to do our inputs. I'm trying to think. So we are going to have, so let's do a div in here with the class name of grid. Medium screens and up, we're going to do a grid call 2. And then a gap of 5. And this is where we're going to have 2 inputs. So we're going to have one, the first one's going to be have an ID of name, a label of name, and also a placeholder of your name. This form won't do anything, just for styling purposes. But if you want to add email.js to this, you can. It's really easy to do. I did it in my last project. If you guys want to go check it out. This one is email. Label is going to be email, and placeholder is going to be your email. Okay. All right, and let me just copy this over. So after this div here, I have another input. It's going to be subject. Label subject, placeholder subject, and the next one is going to be text area. So remember that is text area. We're going to add that. And the ID is going to be message, placeholder message. All right, perfect. That's looking really nice. Okay. And now we just need our button, which I'm just going to copy and paste over here. So right underneath this text area, have our button, type submit, send message. Perfect. All right. That is our contact section. Now let's go ahead and do our footer. All right, so I created the footer component, and I'm actually just going to copy and paste over the footer component. You guys can head over to the GitHub repository to get it, or the GitHub gist in the description. I think the gist to be faster. All you gotta do is just click on GitHub gist, and it's going to be all the files that you need in there that we needed to copy and paste over. I will go over it. It's not that much. It's just basically footer. And we got our links here, UL. We got all our links. We got home, we got jobs, about, contact. And then down here we got a div, flex, justify center, item center. And these are just icons. We got, I believe this one is the Twitter icon, and we did it in SVG. We got this one here, which is another icon. We got this one here, which is another icon. So these are just social icons. You can use React icons as well if you want, and just take out these SVGs. So let's go ahead and inside of our page, actually inside of our layout, right underneath our children, we have our footer. All right, now let's take a look. All right, perfect. And that is our footer. Nice. All right, now we gotta make sure we add something inside of our global CSS. So as you can see, once we click on this, it kind of just jumps to the location. So we're gonna do HTML scroll behavior smooth. Right. So now once we click on contact, let's give it a refresh right quick. Let's click on jobs. Let's just go to localhost 3000. All right, now it worked as soon as I did that. All right, so once we click on contact, it should like nice smooth scrolling. All right, guys. So a few changes. So inside of our job types, we're gonna add a created at, and that's going to be a date. Employment type is going to be string or null. Salary is going to be a number or null. and then image is going to be a string or null. And with that, we shouldn't have any more errors. That should have got rid of that error on our home page. So we had an error here. And then the last thing we got to do is, instead of our jobs card, we're going to add our fallback image. So instead of job.image, inside of our source, we're going to do a ternary operator and check if job image is there. If it is, we're going to return our job.image. If it's not, we're going to return this fallback image.png, which is here. And that's basically whenever we post our job. I'm going to do data intern, Raleigh, NC. Company name is going to be, I'm going to make up a name, space attires. And then salary is going to be 56,000 a year. So I'm not going to do an image because we didn't make this required. So that's the whole reason of that fallback image. It's not required to put an image. Description is going to be test, and then we're going to click on submit. So now once we go to our, now we got that fallback image there and show that they didn't upload an image. So that's really it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. It's pretty, I'm not sure how long it is. I'm about to start editing the video now. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Got a bunch of projects coming out. I'm actually working on a project in Solid.js that probably won't drop for a few months because I'm actually learning Solid as I build this project. It's going to be a full stack Solid project. Most likely going to be maybe a social media website using Solid.js. So hopefully you guys are enjoying my videos. I really do appreciate everybody for watching. I will see you guys next video. Peace.